Om Namo Narayanaय. Welcome to Tangent Circles, a series of philosophy discourses that I hope promote critical thinking, give you listeners an opportunity to experience some of the spiritual experiences that I have had in my decade long spiritual journey, help identify yourself, or, in the words of the Austrian philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein, show the fly the way out of the fly bottle. The discourses shall comprise of elements drawn from the literature, my intensive and extensive research, as well as my personal experiences. I have not confined myself to any particular school of thought. The discourses, in fact, shall touch upon a wide range of subjects in philosophy, be it Indian philosophy or Western. I have tried my best to keep the language simple. You may be surprised to find that the discourses are not inundated with philosophy jargon or Sanskrit verses. Discourse 1. Clause of Thought. In this discourse, we shall try to understand the well known story of Lord Narasimha and Hiranyakashipu from an offbeat perspective. Lord Narasimha is a part lion, part human avatar of Lord Vishnu who slayed the demon Hiranyakashipu. The story goes as follows. Hiranyakashipu undertook a penance and obtained a boon from Lord Brahma that he shall not die during the day or at night, within or outside a house, on the ground, in water, or in the sky, by a celestial weapon, demigod, human being, demon, animal, or any entity, living or non living, created by Lord Brahma. In order to end the king's tyranny, the part animal, part human incarnation came upon him at twilight, which is neither day nor night, at the entrance to his palace, therefore neither indoors nor outside, placed him on his thighs, therefore not ground, water, or the sky, and ripped the king apart with his claws, which evidently do not constitute a celestial weapon and are partly living and partly non living. Well, the visible part of the fingernail is non living, but behind the cuticles, beneath the skin, something called the root keeps producing living cells that eventually form the visible nail. I am assuming that the same applies to claws as well. And so Hiranyakashipu was killed. Now, conventional logic or common sense tells us that no statement is both true and false, and that a statement is either true or false, but nothing in between. In Western philosophy literature, these are two of the three laws of thought. The first one is called the law of non contradiction, the second is the law of excluded middle. One cannot help but wonder how the story of Lord Narasimha and Hiranyakashipu comes across as a simple and elegant way to suggest us, especially to those of us who are uninitiated in philosophy, that there may be logics that transcend conventional logic. If there can be something in between day and night, can't there be something in between truth and falsity? And if something such as a fingernail or a virus can both be living as well as non living in different ways, couldn't a statement be true as well as false at the same time and in the same respect? Interestingly, such logics seem hidden in other religious doctrines and theologies as well. Buddhism advocates the middle way or the middle path, wherein one avoids extremes such as renunciation and indulgence. The Jain doctrine of Anekantavada posits that no one perspective about the ultimate reality prevails and that each perspective is at best a partial truth. Let us pause here for a while and reflect on what we have learned so far. If you are eager and excited to take up tougher thought exercises, consider this seemingly simple but profound question. can thought exist without language? Here, by language, we refer to the collection of all systems that humans have used, are using, or can foreseeably use to communicate. Imagine a world like ours, with beings like us, similar in every sense, but a world without languages. Would our alien friends on this planet have any such thing as a thought occurring to them? Well, whatever may be your answer to this question, it is itself a product of language driven thought. Unless, of course, it is a random yes or no, which we do not generally accept in philosophy. Aren't we finding it difficult to dissociate language from thought? Well, perhaps not. For a quick thought tells us that the thoughts from which language emanated must obviously have been language independent. This quick thought is also language driven, but what is interesting to think is whether language independent thinking would have also yielded the same conclusion. Since we are unable to envisage language independent thinking, let us try to see if we can somehow work around the problem. Fortunately, Lord Narasimha comes to our rescue. If it is not day, it needn't necessarily mean night, for it could be twilight. Similarly, if it is a language independent thought, it needn't be thought that emanates from nothing. It could be one driven by a language like system that transcends language. Perhaps thoughts driven by this higher system would present us with a clear understanding of the exact relationship between thought and language. Philosophers may like to call the higher system a meta language. Meta means beyond, but I shall refrain from using this terminology. A little while ago, we thought that language originated from thought. The supposition of the existence of a higher system now presents the possibility that language is at the origin of all thought. This possibility is strengthened by the Hindu scriptures. According to the Mandukya Upanishad, the sacred syllable Om is the primordial sound from which all other sounds and creation emerged. The Bhagavad Gita equates Om with the supreme consciousness and therefore says that there is nothing greater or more important than Om. Coming back to our story, Hiranyakashipu had a son named Prahlada, who, unlike his father, was an ardent devotee of Lord Vishnu. When Prahlada tells his father that Lord Vishnu is eternal and omnipresent, an enraged Hiranyakashipu points to a pillar and asks Prahlada whether Lord Vishnu was in the pillar. When Prahlada replies affirmatively, the king smashes the pillar with his mace, and Lord Vishnu emerges out of the pillar in the form of Lord Narasimha and kills Hiranyakashipu in the manner described earlier. Now, what if instead of the pillar, Hiranyakashipu had pointed at himself?